Welcome to the Samuele Tini Show, where business, innovation and sustainability converge to drive progress. Are you ready to uncover solutions shaping our future? Let's dive in.
Welcome to a new episode. Today, we are going to discuss the world of development and the world of how to bridge development and business, and going really deep in the grassroots with a business leader, somebody that's been at the helm of big corporation, and now it is transforming African landscape, African commodity, and the lives of farmers. So I'm very pleased to have here today Michele Sofisti, the CEO of Nzatu. Thank you so much, Michele. It's really a pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you, Samuele. It's my pleasure to be here and share some experiences in Africa and elsewhere. So I'm very honored for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Michele, the honor is mine. When we first met and discussed, I've seen your CV. You have been at the helm of the bigger brand, some brand that we all know. And now you are really transforming the African landscape and farmers. So before going into the Nzatu and the transformational journey that you are undertaking, conservation and biodiversity, I want to know a bit more about you. Who is Michele? How you have entered this world? And now, what is your journey?
I must say, I have quite an interesting journey, a little bit, maybe not on a linear path. I am a geologist. And I was working as a geologist also in Germany. I'm Italian, even though now I'm also Swiss because I live in Switzerland since 30 years. But when I started after university, I started as a geologist, working in Italy and in Germany. And then it was very particular, but I got the possibility to join a Ferrari cars. And because it was Ferrari, they were looking for somebody speaking German to take care of the German markets. I was young enough and crazy enough to go away from geology and join this incredible iconic brand. So I spent 7 years in Ferrari. I became CEO of the German subsidiary. And I can tell you incredible stories because I was basically witnessing, if you want, the end of the very early Ferrari, where some of the top managers working with, they were at the time of Enzo Ferrari, and then going into modernity and the Ferrari incredible company that we know today. So I remained seven years there, and then I did another jump. This time. More, I would say, in line because with Ferrari, I entered the so-called world of luxury products, luxury items. So I had the opportunity to join Omega, the watches, and the group at the time, the name was SMH. Then has become the Swatch Group, 18 brands inside the group, plus all the industrial parts and factories. And so I started with Omega, and in a couple of years, I became a president CEO of the brand. So altogether, I spent about 5 years there with, experiences that have really changed in a certain sense, my emotion and my life, because I found myself working with the Apollo astronauts, which when I was a kid, I was watching in television. So never in life I would have thought that I was sitting in a meeting with Thomas Stafford, Gene Cernan, the last man who walked on the moon. So for me, this is something that is sculpted inside my heart and brain. After 5 years, I moved to Paris for a very short period of time, joining the group LVMH, which was thinking to create a watch and jewelry division. So I took care of Christian Dior watches. I did the acquisition of a very historical, beautiful writing instrument company from Italy, Omas. I was also in charge of Fred jewelry. So different projects, but finally I accepted to go back to the Swatch Group and I become for the other 5 years president CEO of the brand Swatch. There was another incredible series of experiences, and I would say the two that formed me also, again, in terms of a profession, but also in terms of a dream come true, was working for the Olympic. I love sport. My father was a boxer who has been fighting for the Italian team, and he was selected also for the Olympic game in 52. So for me, saying Olympics is something that goes to the sky. It goes to the dream area. So I was lucky enough because his watch was the timekeeper. So I was involved in Sydney 2000, Athens 2004, the preparation of Turin 2006, and Beijing 2008. So really incredible. And then at the same time, we were also partnered with the Montreux Jazz Festival. So some of the best musicians, I become, knowledgeable, more knowledgeable about the music and those big artists like Phil Collins. They're quite exciting projects. And after 5 years, I was at that time also in charge of all group brands for Greater China. That gave me also an incredible deep knowledge about the China development. We are at the beginning of the year 2000, so from 2000 to 2005. So I spent quite a lot of time in China. And then decided to leave. I created my own consulting agency called the Sophos Management. I did different projects. Maybe the most significant was as a project leader for a Cinecittà project, an Italian film festival, representing for the very first time in China the cinematography of Italy. So we organized a film festival in Beijing and Shanghai, and I had the opportunity to meet and spend a couple of days with the iconic Mario Monicelli. So I'm just listening to him. You listen to the story of cinematography. So it was an incredible experience. But finally, the watch industry called me back. So I remained, if you want, independent with my company, but I covered the position as a CEO of two brands, Gucci, watches and jewelry, and at the same time, Girard-Perregaux and Jean Richard. All those companies belonging to the Kering Group. There I spent altogether 7 years. And in 2014, I left, let's say, the corporate world, and I started to dedicate my time, network, and passion to what has been I would say my leading star all my life, which is nature. So I started working for a small NGO in South Africa, the Global Conservation Corps. We protect wildlife, particularly rhinos, working with a team of rangers from the Timbavati Foundation, and then working on local school for local children. So in this moment, we are impacting 15,000 local children, with our teachers going there to teach conservation. Then I joined another NGO where I am advisor, is a Resolve in Washington, D.C. Also an incredible experience with early AI technology for a micro camera to use anti-poaching tool. And that brought me to meet Gwen Jones. Gwen Jones, she's also an advisor at Resolve. We met 3 years ago at the annual meeting in Washington, and she invited me to join a project that she started with her sister Denise on beekeeping to give some sustainable economy for the local communities or rural communities. And I decided to join, and that was, let's say, the beginning of Nzatu. Maybe we go a bit deeper into it. But that started because of all these different connections. I was also very, I would say, emotionally involved and passionate because I spent 4 years also as advisor at the National Geographic Society in Washington, D.C., where I had the fortune to meet explorers like Derek and Beverly Joubert, a photographer like Reza or Chris Reiner, and I kept all those contacts alive. And somehow they remained with me, and now we have a project with Derek and Beverly Joubert in Zimbabwe with beekeeping through Nzatu. So, and also Reza is somehow involved also as an incredible photographer, but is also involved in regenerative agriculture. And so time to time we exchange messages. And all of this is, let's say, the world that I'm passionate to. And I was born in a small village on the Italian Alps. And I think living in the that's has formed my, let's say, my heart and my brain to really be into nature.
And Michele, I mean, as I said, what an introduction, what a work that you have done, and what a career. And if I can summarize, you have been at the helm of big brands that you already know, and maybe we have even envy to see, wow, Ferrari and others. But really, nature has been a passion, sustainability at the core, and now you say the African calling and the work that you are doing there. So maybe before going into that and to discuss a bit more, what are you doing now? If you can give me one or two hints, what have you learned from your extensive background in this global luxury brand, the Dior, the Gucci, the other? Which are the key lessons that you have taken with you from the corporate world and then you have translated now in the sustainability focused venture like Zatu?
There are a lot of lessons. The first is, of course, to understand people, work with people. I am a team. I am a team player. I don't like to work just by myself. And you can leading a team or be part of a team. You can really make things changing. And because I combined also this work with the NGOs, I can say that I have a private sector extensive experience in different sector because automobile, watches, jewelry, also the fashion, and now also with the NGO, I can kind of understand the two words, and maybe I can understand the best way to take advantage of them to help nature. In this moment, we have two major dramatic issues which are the loss of biodiversity everywhere in the world and the climate change. And this has moved me to say, I just concentrate my full activity and knowledge network and everything I can do on those two issues. But we live in many problems. It's enough to look at the news every single morning. Is just it's very difficult even to comment, but is also a sign, I would say, of a world and people that don't realize that we are alone on a planet. This is our house, and instead of increasing weapons and bombing right and left, just with some excuses, we should really concentrate all together and make it happen. Make it happen that nature is protected, that the business is developed in harmony with the nature. And there is another part of my current work that maybe is interesting because, as I told you, I'm part of Nzatu, so I am one of the five co-founder, initially co-founder, and also the CEO of the company. But then I joined also as a partner, a beautiful company in London, which is really into circular economy. And we have all kind of solution. We created an ecosystem with innovative startups developing a solution in materials and technology to recycle and transform plastic, textile waste, and many other industrial situation to go from a linear economy to a circular economy. So the combination of these two works, one on more industrial, moving linear to circular, and the other one with Nzatu into natural protection. So regenerative agriculture, wildlife, and the biodiversity protection that is giving me the passion and the energy every single morning to go and fight. And I say fight because it's not easy. It's not easy because even though every day we talk about sustainability, we talk about protection, we talk about all those things. In reality, when you go there and you would like to change something, there are walls everywhere. And the walls are under I would say, the motto, business as usual. And that's very sad because it's like even companies, entrepreneur, forget about the politicians. They have no clue or they don't want to see the reality and they keep going as it was like 30 years ago. But 30 years ago was one thing. Today is
another one. Very, very. And I want to go back to Zatu because that is the transformation that you are trying to bring. And it's also the idea of the point, this emerging market or maybe the future market, the grow market, how to be a bridge because you have described yourself like a bridge between the not-for-profit, the NGO, but also your incredible business leadership and experience. So for the people that are not familiar, can you explain to us what is Nzatu? So, how you're combining biodiversity, regenerative agriculture, wildlife conservation, how they fit together?
So Nzatu was started by Gwen and Denise Jones in Zambia. They come from a rural community and they started a few years ago beekeeping activity to generate a sustainable economy for those local communities, selling honey instead of cutting trees and selling wood. Honey has more value than wood at first, but also cutting wood, you create a deforestation problem and there is no really future development. So we started with, and we are still doing beekeeping. But when I joined the company, I asked two very close friends of mine to join the company too as a co-founder. One is Andrea Chiesi. Andrea Chiesi is a very important entrepreneur in the pharmaceutical business. Chiesi Pharmaceutical here in Parma is one of the leading European pharma company. And he's a wildlife conservationist of a very skilled knowledge and capacity. He spends also a lot of time in Africa trying to protect wildlife. And the other person is Prithvi Naik. He's a young climate economist from India. He lives in Bern. So we work operationally in Switzerland. Me in Neuchâtel I'm just half an hour away. So we created, let's say, starting from the beekeeping, we decided to go very ambitiously on three general impact. So we would like to generate, with our activity, we would like to generate social impact, creating a sustainable long-term economy for those rural communities in Africa. We would like absolutely, we fight the max we can to protect the wildlife and biodiversity. And that's why we have created an ecosystem inside Nzatu with a beautiful organization active since many years in Africa. And the third one is climate change mitigation. So promoting beekeeping, we promote also to plant fruit trees in those communities. But at the same time, we got from the communities in Zambia, where we were basically everything started, 7,000 hectares of degraded land. And now we are doing a beautiful project called the Trees for People. Together with the communities, we are planting moringa trees, Makungala native trees, and then we are accompanying all of this with the beekeeping and the intercropping with the leguminous to generate a soil regeneration. And this project has been selected among the 2025 nominees of the Earthshot Prize, which is, I think, quite a nice kind of a certification of quality that we can really model that combines passion, emotion, local communities, and a clear goal to create a business in harmony with the nature. So Nzatu is the business model is pretty simple, is a bridge between rural communities in Africa and the international markets. So we do in the rural communities, we do training and control quality. We look for the clients, and we are talking about honey. We are talking about all beside product from honey, but also all the cereals like fonio, sorghum, of course, coffee, cocoa, cashew nuts. So we have quite a large offer where we bridge those farmers, organic, regenerative, into the markets. And we created an ecosystem, as I was saying before, where you can see our partners in the conservation area, incredible companies. But we are also a member of the Regenerative Society Foundation, which has been created by Jeffrey Sachs and Andrea Elli. And we have technological partners like Tri6 in Bangalore as a blockchain. We have a Restore.eco, which is a spin-off of the ATH of Zurich, and they do satellite monitoring. So you can see through their eyes, you can see in our plantation in Zambia, what is the biodiversity there. And now, very recently, we have signed also a partnership with another beautiful young organization called Signature that come out of the Polytechnic from Lausanne, and they do biodiversity acoustic monitoring. So they place monitors inside a plantation and they register all the sounds, and the AI help in recognizing which birds, which mammals, which animals is there. So just for you to tell, tomorrow we are giving a couple of these acoustic monitoring to our partner producer coffee in Uganda, and we will have very soon the sounds of the coffee that we are selling. That is another project maybe I described later on. So as you see, we would like really with the Nzatu, we are not going to be the next Nestlé. We are zero interest in that. We are interested in creating a sustainable economy for the communities. Show that you cannot give 5 cents out of $1 on a chocolate bar to a farmer. They need to have more because they do the work. The same is for coffee. So we try to create let's say the work, but also the profit with the communities and the native population.
And this is the real important part, because usually when you describe these sort of projects, it sounds in some minds, it might be, oh, this is an NGO, a not for profit, you're doing through grants, while you're doing through a business.
No, we are for profit.
In fact, so that is the bridge. Yes. And really, I would like to see the transformative power of business that bring also sustainability in that, then in the long term, because one Absolutely. Of the downfalls of project and grants and philanthropy is that the sustainability part sometimes is missing or is a bit weak because of course have different objectives. So yes. How do you see these tensions, playing towards, because you are doing good, you are doing transformation and work, but also you need to do well because you need to ensure commercial viability.
That is very complex, in fact. But let's say that the five of us, the five co-founders, we agree on a clear vision. We recognize the importance of philanthropy and donation, but we are kind of proposing a different model because organizations, also NGOs around the world, they cannot base their existence on donation because at the moment donation are not there, you are dead. And the good example is what is happening. Catastrophe is happening with USAID. The decision of the US government to stop is creating such a criminal disaster in many countries with people without medicine, with people suffering. It's terrible. So the solution to that is to put beside business, but ethic business, impact business, business where you share what you are creating. And this is what we would like to do. So we are not saying forget about donation, welcome, beautiful, but you need to create your impact business. So we are now legally a company registered in Switzerland as a SA. We are registered as Nzatu Europe SA. We have 2 subsidiaries, one in Zambia, one in Johannesburg, in South Africa, where Denise is operating, especially for the beekeeping part, where we go in other countries to do the training and the project. We have a beautiful project right now with Great Plains Foundation, Derek Beverly Joubert in Zimbabwe. We have trained about over than 200 people on beekeeping. So that is the kind of impact that we try to generate. Now, the missing part or the difficult part is the private sector. Because again, the private sector, we are talking now food and big companies or medium companies. Again, the experience that I'm doing, and I don't want just to make a simple criticism, but I see that it's very difficult for them to get out of a business as usual and try something different, high quality, because we guarantee high quality, organic, and we guarantee the impact on the communities, on wildlife, or even climate change. But it's very difficult to get finally those companies to say, yes, let's try this. Let's do a little bit. Let's do a story with them and see what it happens. So we are moving our way. We are creating, enlarging our network. I can share with you that yesterday we signed or we helped sign an agreement between the Wildlife Southern Africa Wildlife College, which is an academic institution in South Africa in the Kruger Park, and the Parma University. And I tell you, yesterday the meeting was so exciting and so inspiring because you see the professor and students with thousands of projects to impact the nature, and the Wildlife College doing this on the field. And the combination of the two with an exchange of professor and students can just bring much more results than we can think.
And it's so important because usually, as you say, you have to put commercial viability, the work, guaranteeing the products and things. And I think coffee, as is one of the main areas, especially because critically being also Italian, coffee is a staple, let's say, food and but also for the whole of Europe, and is an iconic, like cocoa, an iconic product. And usually and often, as you mentioned before, what remains to the farmer, it's very maybe some few penny compared to the price that is in Europe. So how you put value, no? And then you have created this work of Juki Coffee project in partnership with Italian companies and work. So how does it work? How really the initiative like this can bring more values to the farmer, the real people on the ground?
No, I thank you for the question, Samuele, because this project is exactly the proof that when you meet the right entrepreneur with a vision, with the wish of doing something, you can succeed. So what's happened in here in Parma? I was just walking in the street, and through a friend, I met Luca Montagna. Luca Montagna is the founder and owner of Art Cafe, which is a 30 years premium coffee brand here in Parma. He does super top, high quality coffee. He's like a philosopher of coffee. So he's really pushing for give the better quality, the best clarity to the final consumer. So I told him about Nzatu. I told him what we are doing, what is our goal. And he immediately said, let's do a project together. So in this way, in a few months, we started Njuki. Njuki means honey in some of the Zambian language. And the project is divided, if you want, with us bringing organic coffee, 100% Arabica from Uganda, our partner, the Friends of Mother Initiatives, to Parma, where Luca does the roasting, which is the most delicate part to have a good coffee, packaging, and distribution. So in this moment, we are distributing in northern Italy, Conad, which is a large food chain. We are going to be distributed in some of the other European countries where Art Cafe already distributes, like Poland, the UK, some Greece, and others. And we are also helping Art Cafe to get distributed, like in Middle East, in United States, in Canada, in some other countries. So that is a phenomenal project, honestly, because a part of the quality of the coffee, which is excellent. And now we have also capsule, we have infusion coffee, we have all different modality, so to say. But what is important for me is also that we created the label where you see immediately Africa, you see immediately wildlife, and on the back, you see all our partners. So somebody buying a can of this coffee, it can learn about what it means to work for wildlife and biodiversity conservation, what it means to create a project to impact climate change. And that is, for me, a philosophical thought because a product becomes a piece of communication. And I think this is the way to go because we need the private sector to engage, to protect nature, and to create business in harmony with the nature. You can only do that through a product that can be used, tested, in this case, drunk by a consumer. At the same time, they can learn something. It's an impact product.
And it helps to solve also the issue of the farmers because it leaves, more to the pockets of farmer quality products doing in a regenerative way rather than the traditional exploitation method that has been also the case oftentimes. And I want to ask this, how do you ensure, because one of the big things is how do you ensure traceability, how do you ensure transparency in the sharing and other. How do you make use of technology in this way to really transform the entire value chain and give back also value?
Of course. Now, the first part I would like to say is also very important to understand. In this moment, or at least is my learning, the trading of those commodities, particularly coffee and cocoa, is more or less in the hand of those big traders that are there since 200 years. And they have billions and billions of turnover. They basically bring these commodities from Africa and they bring into the international markets through importers, distributors. It's a very long value chain. So we go directly to the farmers, connecting the client with the farmer. That is the first cut of the situation. So the price is decided at the stock exchange, either London or New York, or Robusta or Arabica. So we cannot influence too much the price, but we can assure the quality. We do the training, and also I think it's quite an interesting part. Every time we bring the beekeeping, because we need also not to forget that between one season and the other one, from one harvest to the other one, they have no revenues. So with the
Yeah.
beekeeping, you have a different, multiple good effect. The first one, you generate income in the in between season. The second is that you help gender equality, and particularly in some countries and in some local communities, the fact that the young girl, they don't need to get married at the early stage, to provide economy to the family, but they can work on the beekeeping and generate a very solid, interesting revenue. So that is mainly our help, and also the help in selecting clients in Europe, in United States. Now we are discussing also with some potential client in Asia. Bring also reliable, let's say, clients to those farmers, because it's not our goal is not to do one shot the deal. Again, we are not interested. We would like to work on a continuity, long term, long impact, and sharing the revenues. And the same is for cocoa. Our cocoa partner in Ghana is a company called Kumbi, Kwojo Boachei Ajay. He's a phenomenal person on a personal level. He's a doctor degree in Harvard, but he decided to help the farmers to create a cocoa business, leaving more to the farmer than to the end of the value chain. So we are working with him, and we are proposing those beans to chocolate company in Switzerland, in Italy, in United States, and in Asia again. And he is one of the 4 certified by the Ghana Cocoa Board, which is already that is the guarantee that you have the best that you can choose. Then the clients, the food company of the world, they can decide. Again, business as usual. I don't care. I buy as I did,
Mhm.
and whatever happens. Or you can try and create a project where you generate an impact also with the farmers. So you create. I don't know how to say. You create a really roots that
Mm.
goes and bring together from the farmers to the final clients.
And this is the model that we discussed many times, where people are bringing disruption in the traditional business. We discuss it with other guests on the podcast, like on rare mineral and rare earth. Instead of creating corridors or Lobito or Dar es Salaam to go east or west, it's better, we give more to the farmers. We really produce, create impact in the rather than using the model that from 200 years or 250 years ago. And if I want to ask this, because of course Nzatu is a startup in a way, but a startup that is already making strides in the world, trying to change a very difficult also market, because of course you cannot change 250 years of history in very easily, and especially competing with the giants of the world. But if you have to look at Michele, of course, I mean, you are not a man that is shy of challenges. Actually, you are charging head on. I want to, how do you see the evolution on Zato in the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you want to take your company?
Yeah, honestly, our goal is to become a little bit of a model, scalable in Africa and eventually also elsewhere. We would like many other companies to copy this model, to impact the local communities, to create organic products. It's very important to move from an extractive economy to a regenerative economy. It's very, very important. I am also a believer in slowly go away from the chemical agriculture, which is causing a lot of problem. Also the loss of soil. We lost 40% of the world soil because of industrial intensive monoculture agriculture. So we need really to make a change, but to make a change you need to show a model. So we, in a very humble way, but we try really to show that it's possible. You need knowledge, but the knowledge you can take from outside, and that's why we have, for example, an incredible advisory board with international people like the former president of the Mauritius, Dottoressa Amina Ghurib Fakim. She is considered among the 100 most influential women on the planet. We have Ambassador Mistretta, who has been in Italy leading the relationship between Italy and Africa. We have Terry Garcia, who has been 17 years vice president of National Geographic Society. Indrani, she's a phenomenal video maker, photographer, environmentalist. She has a new film coming out called The Regeneration Generation. And she brought, this is done in the Amazonas, and she brought those people also to the World Economic Forum in Davos. Again, all this is really to make an impact to people. People need to understand that it's time to change, that we can change. There are all solutions, and there are no excuses. But we need also, I say very brutally, we need also to learn to elect proper politicians. A politician should look for the good of people. That is the meaning that was born in the old Greece. Is not we cannot have business people taking advantage of a billion of people just for their personal interest and have zero clue about science and zero clue about what we need to do to avoid not to avoid, but to reduce climate change and this dramatic biodiversity loss.
And it's so important, the leaders, a business can do a lot of part, civil society can do a lot of part, but also the policy making, it needs to be that part. And it's unfortunate we discuss it in other episodes, the polarization that is creating too much rather than the things that unite people and really help. And I want to close because it's been a wonderful episode full of insights and also full of food for thoughts on how to change the way we think about the commodities and things. From your experience as a business leader or a change maker, can you give us 3 lesson that you have learned in your age that can be shared with our audience and maybe with prospective entrepreneurs that want to change the business as usual and want to go for more regenerative models?
No, I don't think I can give a lesson to anybody on anything, but I would like to share one experience that I did and that came back to my attention reading something 2 days ago. We are, as you said, in a very polarized world. We are in a world that is bombing, making war. We know what it is. And you don't see, honestly, the capacity of people talking and making something together. And as I said at the beginning, I was super lucky that I could work with the Apollo astronauts. And one day I was with Gene Cernan, last man on the moon, and he was thinking about the last time he was there. And finally, his relationship was not on the moon, it was on Earth, on the people there and so on. So astronauts that can give this vision of the planets to be protected. But there is a story that is very important, and the 50th anniversary is coming in 3 weeks' time, the 15th of July, 1975. It was the Cold War in full action. Russian Americans, they couldn't not even, they were ready to fight every single. And 2 men, Thomas Stafford in the Apollo and Alexei Leonov in the Soyuz, met in the space, out in space, and they joined together the 2 space vessels, and they met in space and shake hands. And that was a cooperation project between Russia and the US in the Cold War. So I say, why we cannot today try to understand that the biodiversity losses and climate change mitigation are the 2 key issue that generate all the rest, which is migration, famine, poverty, all of this. So it's not a lesson, but it's a message. Is really we need to try to go over the polarization, try to join forces to go in harmony with the nature, and also that is my personal mantra: never give up. Never giving up because we need to fight. We need to go for it. There is a vision, there is a mission. We need to protect the animals, nature in general, and that's the consequence, the positive consequence we will see. Also in terms of economic growth, regenerative growth and so on. So it's not a lesson, but it's at least what I learned in those last 10 years.
And it's not, I mean, it's a very important lesson, I think, because it's a message of unity, it's a message of cut through the polarization and look at the problem and the real problems that we have and we face. And we said it many times, we face the existential threat to us, to our environment, to the biodiversity, and we, as a species and as humans, we need really to change that. So, Michele, I'm pleased and honored. It was a real pleasure to have hosted you, and thank you for sharing your wisdom and your great experience. I'm sure we'll book maybe in the future to see how Nzatu is really keep transforming value chains in Africa and beyond.
Thank you, Samuel. Thank you. It's been a pleasure, honor, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Are you satisfied after this wonderful episode? Let's continue together our sustainability journey.